All right, we're hot and we were just working out the kinks. We are finally back. Welcome to Beyond the Court, episode number 24. Happy New Year to everybody. We did take a short break. Ellie, Scotty Mack, and myself. We had a couple week Christmas break, vacation, Hanukkah, New Year, and we got it all together. I'm coming at you from South Florida right now again, getting ready to head over to Atlanta for the IRT Pro Stop. And tonight's going to be a fun night. It's going to be interesting. There'll be some cool topics. We're going to talk about what we went through on our first year beyond the court in 2020, what you the fans went through, what Scotty Mack and Ellie and what it's been like for us. It's been quite the journey. And before I hand it off to Ellie, it's there's an important story right now in racquetball, and that is a missing person. And Dane Elkins, who is from the Northern California area, and Ellie will be able to touch on that a little bit more. He's only 2 years removed from the juniors, and Dane Elkins is from Northern California. He's been missing for about 2 weeks right now, and there's tons of people out there looking for him. Ellie's going to touch a little bit further into that. And Dane, if you're out there, if anybody share this feed, share the video. I know there's a website. We'll get to that also. How you can help find Dane Elkins. This kid was a number 2 player in the country not too long ago. So Ellie, it's great to see you, buddy, and Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy New Year, Sudsy. Scotty Mack behind the scenes there. Happy New Year. Yeah, it's good to be back. We took a couple weeks off there for the holidays. Probably the right move on our parts, letting you travel, regrouping, talking about what we're gonna do to start off the New Year's here and keep it going, keep the energy flowing. In terms of Dane, Dane's from Southern California, actually. He's not from Northern California, but he's going to school, or had planned to go to school. I think he went to one year at UC Santa Cruz, and so he was up there. And then his second year, I believe, is when COVID hit here, or maybe the second part of his first year there, COVID hit, and so I'm not sure. Haven't kept in touch with him up until that point. If he was at school, what happened when COVID hit? Did he go home and all that? But from all accounts, right now he's been on the streets for a little bit here, about 13, 14 days, up in the Reseda area, in the up by gosh. One of the roller coaster spots, one of the real Magic Mountain area, up in that area right there. It's a famous roller coaster park, that he's in that area by all accounts, based on what his parents are saying. There's a Facebook page, Sudsy, that says search for Dane Elkins. I think that'd be great if we could share that and just get
Mm-hmm.
more people, kind of in tune what's going on. 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago in Iowa, he was the runner up in our 18 and under junior singles finals, won the doubles with our buddy Ricky Diaz here in Stockton. And so, he's somebody who's come up to a bunch of tournaments here. His dad, his mom, his whole family, his brothers play. His
Mm-hmm.
grandpa comes up a lot. So he's somebody that we're friends with here in Stockton, and a lot of people are around the country. And everyone's just really worried about Dane. Whatever the reason is that he's on choosing to be on the streets. It's hopefully he understands that he's got a lot of people that care about him. He's got a family that loves him, that wants to see him safe. And so, hopefully that happens and we get some good news pretty soon about that. But praying for Dane and his family to have a good ending here to this little saga. And just wanted to mention it on the show. So thanks, Suds. Looking forward to the rest of the show here. We got some topics coming up. We got Atlanta, which I know you're preparing for. You're in Florida right now. You're getting ready to play some doubles with Alex, and there's going to be a great pro stops there. They got some juniors. They got some boys juniors that are there as well. So that's kind of interesting, playing for a little prize money at junior racquetball level. And then other things to talk about, from our first year of Beyond the Court here. We had 23 episodes. It's a nice number. Everyone
It's
loves that
actually more
number.
than that. We'll talk about that. It's actually more
Okay.
than that.
Okay. And so, we've been looking forward to getting back on the show, but here we are. We took a couple of weeks off, and now here we're back, and we'll discuss some of what happened in 2020 and then going forward in 2021.
Yeah, Ellie, I mean, we'll talk about that, but we actually did a few shows before we officially named it Beyond the Court. A lot of
Hmm.
people don't know that. And if you go back into the live videos on my Facebook page, you can see some of the early interviews because the first actual interview was with, do you know, Ellie? The first
You
Beyond the
know,
Court episode number one was with Tim
I
Sweeney.
mean, Tim Sweeney, yeah, but
That's right. So
I feel like it even started before then, Suds, because we were
it
doing
did.
the stay
It
home
did.
challenge. Was it stay home challenge or stay home battle? I mean, that
Stay home
felt like
battle.
the stay home battle felt like the beginning of it for real. You know what I mean? Like with Scotty,
Let's
with yourself
yeah,
and I.
yeah,
Go ahead, talk about it. Talk about it.
let's get to that. Let's get into this and then we'll take a quick break. 2020. right? What can we say? There's many, many things we can say. We can all complain, we can bitch, we can argue, we can disagree, we can be negative, miserable, and combative. And you know what? None of us would be wrong. We could all do that. There's no doubt about it. We all have stories, that sucked, whether they touched us personally or not. But it was a year like Rafa Nadal said, Ellie. I won't forget. He said early on, he said that this 2020 was stolen from us. It was a year that was taken from all of us, and it's something that we'll never get back. But, for me personally, and I said this in a recent Facebook Live, you know, it, it's also for me, it was very enlightening. And I honestly want to say thank you to 2020. I can say other choice words, two words, but I'm going to say thank you, 2020. You made me stronger. You made me better. You definitely made me more patient. You taught me to really appreciate time more. I can't sit here and say I love being with my wife and kids, so I'm always with them. So that wasn't, that had nothing to do with what happened in 2020, but it was definitely trying. And all those little battles and all those things we go through in life, that's what makes us better. That's what makes us human. That's what makes us stronger. And, there's no doubt 2020 sucked. And guess what? And I'm here to tell you, it might get a little worse before it gets better. But it's how you go about it. It's how I go about it, how Ellie goes about it, how we teach our kids to go about it. And it's perspective too, right? And never forget, it could always be worse. And I'm sorry. And I know, there's some things out there that have happened that maybe you think it can't get worse than that. Maybe there's deaths in the family or sicknesses that will people might not ever recover from, but it can be worse. And how you go about it and how you decide to choose to live your life, and whether it's with a positive mentality or negative mentality, that's on you. We're all accountable and all responsible for our decisions. And 2020's gone, but it shouldn't be forgotten. It's definitely something we should all try to learn from, and look back at it. And here's a challenge to you. I'm positive you learned or got something out of it. And if you did, that means we all did. I know I did. And 2020, thank you. I'm not sad to see you go, but I guess you were just supposed to be part of this journey. So with that said, we are going to take a break, quick break, and then we're going to come right back and get into the Beyond the Court year in review. Scotty Mack to commercial.
Back.
All right, we're back live, and here we are on episode number 24, Beyond the Court. And this is a special episode. We don't have a guest per se, but we do have Scotty Mack that's going to be hanging with us, Ellie. And we're going to be able to talk to Scotty about, the ups and downs and the things that we went through and the things we shared, and what goes on behind the scenes, because, it is a lot of work. On Sunday nights, we get to hang out and talk racquetball with our friends and racquetball community around the world. I know we all individually get a ton of feedback. Um, but before we get to that, I just want to say congratulations to a newly married racquetball couple that we all know, and that is Carla Munoz and Alan Natera. Congrats. Cheers to you guys. Salute. All happiness. We wish you the best, Carla, Alan. All right. Now, before we get into the year in review, guys, I'm rocking the IRT shirt. Ellie, let's talk about it. Atlanta next week.
Yeah, it looks like we got a pro stop, huh? Another pro stop on our hands here. Exciting. I know there's a decent number of players signed up for the event, so I assume there's going to be some spectating happening with crowds. We'll see how the whole COVID scene is handled there, but to stay away from that topic just a little bit and talk a little more racquetball. Just looking to see, like the women a couple weeks ago, who's sharp, who's a veteran, who has that ability to practice precisely so that they're actually ready for competition play after a long stretch from Vegas to now, and even a longer stretch of indoor to now. So obviously we know Kane will be ready. I think Rocky will be somewhat ready. That'll be the interesting one for me. We see him doing some of the little, it's kind of funny on his Facebook. He does some of the little drills. I mean, you do drills, they look a little bit more thought out. He was doing one that looked like a Travolta dance with the weights there on each side in his very nice garage. Like that garage is hot right there. The car's in the background, but it didn't look like much. And he had getting ready for Atlanta. So, I know he's ready in shape all the time, but how much racquetball is he playing? How much is it all outdoor? Is it getting any indoor opportunity? He'll be interesting. The young guns, the young guys, they'll be ready to go, probably making big mistakes, but also playing, having great moments as well. Someone like De La Rosa is interesting to me. A lot of pickleball, a lot more emphasis on pickleball during this last 3 or 4 months. Is he playing any racquetball? Is he ready for that? Is he in shape at all? Is pickleball, you don't have to be in phenomenal shape for doubles pickleball. So is there a little more belly there? Second kid. He's just a great talent though, so he'll play good. But it's going to be interesting and fun to see. And no Alvaro Beltran. Why is that, Suds?
Yeah, I think, I spoke to Alvy the other day, and he certainly gave me the impression that he's, for the biggest problem is he has no racquetball courts,
Yeah,
down in Southern Cal. He lives really close to Tijuana, or TJ, as many of us
right,
know it. And, he's got
right.
no
He can't get
courts.
in a court. Right,
So yeah, I mean, Alvy told me
right.
he can't get in the court. Alvy, if you're watching, text me. We'll let you in. You can explain why you're not going to be there.
I don't
But
buy
yeah, he
that at
just
all. He's got connections in Tijuana, man. I don't
yeah,
buy
and he
that.
can. I'm sure he can get in the court, but I just maybe he's just not ready. Maybe the holidays are still Feliz Navidad, Feliz Año Nuevo. Maybe they're still heavy on him, and he's also playing a lot of pickleball right now. Let's be honest. He really is. So
Right.
I don't. Scotty Mack will be
Yeah.
there. I'll be there playing dubs, so
Yeah,
we'll be ready to go.
I'm especially interested to see if there's like going to be a gap between the players who are like dedicated, like putting in tons of time, those who have courts and those who don't, like to practice on. Like, if you don't have courts to practice on, then it's going to come down to like how regularly are you drilling, how hard are you working on like putting in the work. So yeah, I'm curious to see if we see some movement in terms of rankings, in terms of what the expected outcome is versus what the real outcome is. And I mean, on a more serious note, I'm curious about players who haven't been playing more regularly. Like that's where we start to see more injury, more because they're not on the court as often. Like the reflexes maybe not as quick or something like that. So
Good point.
Yeah, I have some concern there. I'm kind of curious how it's going to play out.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I think, we talk about it all the time, Ellie and I especially. It's not just having the courts, but it's knowing how to prepare and how to train and be ready for the event. And, Ellie, the word you said, which we use a lot, was veterans. I think Kane's going to be fine. I think Rocky's going to be fine. More importantly, I think the event's going to be fine. And hats off to Donald Williams and his crew. Getting this event to happen in Atlanta. It's just 3 days away, 4 days away, and there's I think over 170 players. Everybody's pretty much coming. It looks like right now, and obviously anything could happen at the last moment. But Atlanta IRT, well done. We're glad we're going to have something to talk about next Sunday night, no doubt about it. Actually, we're talking about when and where we're going to do the show from, because I'll be in Atlanta. Scotty Mack might be traveling, and Ellie is not going to do the show alone. So, all right. We're going to change course. We have to do a year in review, and I have to start by saying this. We're missing a key part of our team. Somebody and she's not coming on, so it doesn't matter. But
Right.
Veronica, I don't know if you're watching, babe, but Veronica is somebody that does all these graphics. She's going back and forth. All the signs you see, the new cool intros and outros. She's putting all that stuff together. So, babe, thank you so much, because honestly, I put that on you all the time. Scotty Mack just had a request about 20 minutes before we went live. And I told him, I said, she's putting the kids to bed. We'll see. And in true Veronica fashion, Scotty, she texted me. She said, done. So thank you, babe. Love you. And can't wait to see you. Hope you're watching. I don't even know. But Veronica's part of the team. She's not here. Guys, let's get right into it. So, Ellie, we said, all right, this is episode 24 now. But to be fair, we did have a bunch of episodes before. And, Ellie touched on how, we did the stay home battles. And Scott, I gotta say this while I have you, because I don't know, you might just jump out. Ellie, Scotty texted me when I announced that I wanted to do this competition and this battle, out of nowhere. And he said, hey, I'm pretty good, on the tech side. If there's anything I can do to help, let me know. And or even ref, and at the time I was like, well, yeah, I'd love to have a ref because these guys are playing at the time they were playing for a couple $1,000s. I'm like, I don't want to count push-ups or, I can't be doing that. So Scotty, thank you so much for that. And obviously we've
Sudsy,
become such good friends
I'm
now.
happy to count push-ups for you anytime. Let me know.
Well, you did it, and in true player fashion, there was a lot of bitching going on. So that worked out, and Ellie, and why don't you tell everybody how we got involved too? Like, because this team right here kind of came from the same angle.
Yeah, I mean, you're assuming I can remember that far back now. That was like 8 months ago now, 9 months ago. So, the reality is that, I'm down for all this stuff, and having known each other for a long time, and just the interest in juniors, the interest in competition, racquetball in general, being a lifer, not really ever getting out of it, even though I haven't been playing for quite a while now or traveling to national events, still kind of involved. You called me and you talked me into it, and it took about 1 minute really to talk me into it, because I said, yeah, that'd be fun. I like announcing, I like doing some of this stuff. Honestly, well, a dream job would be to be able to do this on the road and cover it for racquetball tournaments, and be able to do stuff like that. I mean, it's a lot of fun. I've done it in the past for whether it's IRT Network or USAR, and I enjoy it as well. And I think I bring a little bit to the table on that, and I think there's a lot of people who can do a pretty good job at that. So it was an opportunity to kind of have that moment with you and Scott and all of these athletes and people that we know really well, and to be able to try to be a little bit funny about it while giving a lot of love, and be involved in competition and really kill some time too. I mean, it was like, back there in March and April and May, we needed things to do because we were stuck inside for real, not going anywhere except the grocery store. So, it was that was quite a good time, and it seems so long ago now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we did that, the stay home. We did the keep it going video in March. I looked at it the other day, and there's no doubt. I want all of you racquetball players to go back and share that video, because Scotty, if you look at the date that I actually, like, we released that and posted it, and then after that, you saw all these major sports doing something similar to it. I'm going to go on the record and say we might have been the first sport to do that on that scale, that keep it going, where, everybody was hitting the ball.
There's no doubt about it. You were the first person to do that, the first sport to do it. No doubt about it. You didn't see anything before that, and then you start seeing a bunch of them right after. So I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Well, too bad we don't get paid for that. But anyway, all right, Ellie. So first question for you. All right,
okay.
And we're all going to answer all these questions. This is obviously the first year of Beyond the Court, and what has been the most challenging for you about doing the show?
Not much really. So I'll be honest, I didn't have any restrictions. I wasn't connected to USA Racquetball like that. My connection as a tournament director, and as a paying member now, as a lifetime member, is set. I know what I do in the sport these days, and instruction and tournament directing and stuff like that. So I say what I want for the most part, and I'm not too aggressive about anything anyway. So that the part of, like, am I worried about what I might say on the show, wasn't really involved for me. A couple moments of technical difficulties bothered me a little bit. Setting up, I don't have the background that I'll have in the future here. I don't have it all set up. It took a little time. This microphone right here, it's a nice one. It took a little time to kind of get these elements in place. Scott texted me links to buy this, buy that. And I'm like, okay, because I think it makes everything better. So, the challenge is being consistent and being good at it. I have one little thing that I have to do before we start a show. I have to get on my BowFlex bike and ride to the Peloton app. Like,
That's
I have
awesome.
to do at least 20 minutes. And I have to lead into a shower. And like, I have a routine for this. And this is the only thing I really have a routine for, besides going to work in the morning for some pickleball stuff. So, that kind of feels good to have a little routine, like you're playing a tournament again, which you're going to have it going here in a minute here in Atlanta. So you know what I'm talking about.
It's happening now, Scotty. Your angle of attack for the show is much different than Ellie and I. What are your biggest challenges?
Yeah, I mean, before I started doing the show, I didn't know like hardly anything about streaming. Like, I'd watched a lot of streaming. I consider myself pretty like technically savvy, so I had to learn a whole suite of I'm using OBS Studio here, which is it's not user friendly, and like there are some things that I mean, yeah, I can complain for days, but I won't. But yeah, like even I'm recalling back to some shows where like I had things like nicely organized and all good to go, and then like hit like one wrong button and there's like no undo feature, so I had to like and I tried to hide this mostly from you two, Sudsy and Ellie. I tried to just like make sure that you didn't know when there were like catastrophes happening behind the scenes. But yeah, it'd be like scrambling, trying to get things going together. And so yeah, that's been like one of the main things, is just kind of struggling, like trying to get the software to be as slick as possible. I'm not like graphically design. That's where I'm relying on Vero a lot, is to build the graphics and stuff. And I enjoy putting the scenes together and stuff, but there's a lot to it. Like I could go into detail about like how this is put together, because it's a little bit more than just a Zoom call.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
Scotty, maybe one day we'll have one of those shows like ESPN's doing
How to.
for the football games last night, where they have the control center on the Deuce, or ESPN3, and maybe someday we'll have a little control center on a different little spot for yourself there, so you can see so people can see what you're doing. Because one thing, Suds, and you're going to tell us what your difficulties were, but this is a real show now, and that's kind of the thing for me as the guest host with you is, God, Scott made this a real show for us really quick, right? Yeah, showing off some of the stuff right there, some of the technology that goes into place here. I mean, it's like I did not think this was going to be the case until until we got deep into that stay-at-home battle, and I said, wow, this is really, really cool. So another reason why this has been great.
Yeah, it's turned in, Scott's definitely brought an element, Ellie. What I've learned is I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And, definitely Scotty has made our life easier, no doubt about it. We turn the lights on, and what a lot of the fans don't notice, and for you fans watching, feel free to share this and talk about it. We need sponsors, but that's a whole nother story. We'll get into that. Some advertisers. Thank you, Keith Miner and KWM Gutterman. For me, the most challenging has definitely been keeping the gloves above the belt. I'm so in tune with the sport and what goes on, and I feel like this heavy burden. And Scotty, we've talked about this, about how I feel like I love racquetball so much and I have to protect it. And I was like the guy in school. If someone was getting bullied, I would step in and not allow the guy to get bullied. And I love our sport so much that I feel like I'm overly protective of it, and I question myself constantly. And it's a struggle, and Veronica knows, and Scotty knows, and Ellie knows, okay, at what point, and it's not about being negative. It's just about coming clean. Like, okay, here's what I believe needs to happen or can happen, and it's not about, throwing stones at a glass house. It's over 40 years of knowledge and experience in this sport. And I'm still finding myself, and Ellie and Scotty, like not being able, like Joe Rogan style, like just 100% coming clean. Here's our issues. Here's what we need to do. Here are the people that I think, it's just my opinion, maybe hurt or help, and like, that's it. That's been a challenge for me because Ellie, as all well, I am outspoken and I do have a lot to say, but I also want to make sure I protect the integrity and our game to the utmost and the fullest that I can. If that makes sense, guys.
Yeah. I see Billy in the chat resonating with that. Yeah, I agree there. Like, I think one of the themes of our show has been like kind of giving a platform to all the voices, not just the popular ones, just the ones that have a platform. Like, we're trying to interview the people who wouldn't otherwise be interviewed, or like just try to get more voices out there, get more opinions out there. We may or may not agree at times, but at least we want to have them shown. Like,
I think one thing that kind of happened between us three early on, which is interesting, which is still evolving right now, this week, is that, it felt early on like we were going to, do some feel good conversations past of racquetball. Tim Sweeney was our first guest, and we'll get into that in a second. Have some legends on, and then it evolved into Well, we want to talk about what's going on right now, COVID, not just with COVID, but as we went through the layers of COVID into the Vegas coming up, into some different topics of it. So, I think as a show, we're still searching for each week being the right moment and the right feel to that week. And they can be drastically different per week. Freddie Ramirez is drastically different than Tim Sweeney, right? Tim's not even really
Sure,
playing the sport
sure.
anymore. He's a legend of the game in terms of his play level and what he's done. And he's our boy and we love him. And Freddie's our boy in a different way. And it's just totally different the way those two have been in the sport. So, you kind of see the evolution with those guests right there from the first to the last one we had. And it's always, and our moods change. I might want to be more,
Mhm.
with the past, trying to teach Scott about who played in the 70s and 80s and stuff. And Scott's, in tune with the young mind, the savvy tech mind too, and what people might want to hear and listen to on the podcast side of it. So it's a nice combo and we work it out each week.
Yeah, the balance is great. I love it. It's definitely been it's been rewarding, that's for sure. Let's talk about what COVID, Ellie, has done to racquetball. You've been in the sport over 40 years also. You know, besides the obvious, what are the effects that you see that 2020 COVID has had on our sport, and what it's going to do moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, negative side of it is that people haven't played much in a long time. So, that hurts right there from the player standpoint. You only have a couple states that are really allowing some significant racquetball. And for the most part, a lot of states are closed down still on the courts. But continuing negatively, it's some clubs closing, some courts closing, losing courts really hurts right now. Um, and those are the real negative things. Now I think the thing that's important is that as racquetball comes out of it, the different segments of racquetball, talking about wanting them to come together, but still within their own segments having to be prepared for coming out of COVID, as we all feel a little closer to that being possible, and being ready to be proactive, not just right when we get out of it, but that building stage. And I think we had that theme going with Freddie a little bit a couple of weeks ago, and that there's some opportunities that were missed here, and with Vegas, with the outdoor racquetball side of it. But I think that still exists right now. Like there's opportunities that are coming up, and can we jump back in after COVID releases us a little bit as humans here into getting back together and being in the same building, whether there's masks on or limited masks or not. But can we get back to being productive and producing events that are fun for racquetball players that already exist, and creating new racquetball players, promoting the sport, getting out and being progressive with that? And so, that's not a given. You got to have people that want to give up some time. You got to have facilities that want to allow it to happen. You got to have outdoor situations that can work and exist, and indoor situations, obviously, with the facilities. So you got to have people that really want to dedicate some time to growing the sport and making sure that we keep our courts. So there's still, it's still to be unseen what's going to happen. And it's this COVID situation still going.
Ellie, obviously I don't disagree with what you just said. Scotty, what do you think though? I'm a big believer in adversity. When things like this happen, there's also opportunity. Do you see any positive? Do you think there's any opportunity for our sport, with all this negative shit that's really happened in 2020? I mean, quite frankly, yeah, it's been probably the worst year racquetball's ever had in the history of the sport. Do you think there's some opportunity because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the worst year for a lot of sports, to be honest. I mean, how many, like, I can't think of a time that, like, even the NFL, NBA, like, every sport that I can think of hasn't had as ideal of a sport as
What about
a year as
pickleball?
they would want. I think pickleball already was doing okay beforehand. But yeah. I mean, that's where outdoor racquetball might do really well. But yeah, I mean, I think the way to think about it is like we play a game that takes place on a concealed court, so it has, it's especially susceptible to the COVID issues and such. But on the flip side, like, if I was already like quarantined with like a child, like between ages of like 4 and I don't know 16, Like that's like a perfect opportunity. Like how else are you going to stay active? Like go on a court and play if any are open. So I think there is a lot of upside. I think it's still going to take a lot for us to try to keep the value proposition for club owners, to keep courts alive. I think that there is definitely an uphill battle to try to like build those relationships, try to like build some programming. Try to add more programs, add more incentive for people to pick up a racket and go play. Like how can we decrease the barrier, like so that people, like if I've never played before, can I just rent a racket from the club? Can we, like for those who have extra rackets, can we donate those to clubs? Like how does that work? So
Yeah, I think, one of the things that personally, and obviously you guys played a big role in this, was, the opportunity that I saw every day with this was that people needed something. They needed to see something online. They needed some info, and this was a way to present racquetball to many. Whether it was videos or whether it was content of just getting out there and speaking about racquetball. From an organizational standpoint, I think that one of the opportunities, whether it was missed or not, was the ability to really now embrace the outdoor game, right? And say, okay, you're an indoor player, Scotty Mack or John Ellis, well, how about we go outdoors and grow that part of the game together also? Scott, I love what you said about, right, like if you're quarantined or you're with a junior, like what better way to say, hey, check this out. Now, of course, you're going to get people, well, the clubs were closed and this and that. Well, guess what? We could say but and if and well about everything and anything, right? You can also find answers. Sometimes it's just a decision. But yeah, COVID's it's here to stay. IRT is doing a great job having an event. We're going to get to that later in the show. We're going to be grading the tours, grading, not degrading, grading. A B C D E F. So we'll see what happens. But all right, let's ask one. I keep getting text from one of my favorite guests, Jason Menino. He's texting me right now, and it's hard not to laugh with some of his comments. But Ellie, this is episode 24. We're not counting the before we didn't call it Beyond the Court. Tell me some shows or guests that jump out at you, maybe your favorites, for whatever reasons.
Yeah, I mean, they've all been good for me. There was a couple moments for me personally where I had some internet issues. There was that one day that was 110, 115 here in Stockton, and our whole wireless and internet just went down. And then I had an issue at my parents' house one night. So those, aside from those two shows where I screwed up, every show's been interesting at some level. But surprisingly, I had the most fun talking to Ben and Kane. I thought that was a cool show. Ben's unique individual. He's the type of guy who, we've had some moments where, we just didn't love each other. He was kind of rough on my young guys here in Stockton. And, he's just, he's certainly fun to watch on the court, but sometimes he gets you a little annoyed if you don't like some of his things, that his antics on the court. But I think that he's the type of guy that I would really enjoy off the court if I had more opportunity with him, especially as he's gotten older now and has a family and all that, and, and not a junior anymore when I did know him a little bit. So that was fun to have that kind of show and have him kind of respond in that really positive way. And you could tell from the first question that we asked him, he was giving us like that one answer. And then like this, I might do this to you, but no, I don't think you guys are about that, and he kind of realized that, we're just trying to really give to the people here some information and some fun topic of racquetball, because this is what's coming up. They're going to be the show in Vegas, and we want to talk about that, and we want to recognize how great they are as players and individuals in the sport. So that was fun. Kane's always interesting. The Kane individual, the individual show with Kane himself was interesting. But the other one I'll mention, they've all been great, like I said, but the other one I'll mention is Tim Sweeney. There's nothing, you can never have a second first, right? And even if that wasn't one of our Beyond the Court shows, I'm not sure if we consider that the first one or not, but he was, he's our boy. We chose him to be the first one because us three are connected with the 95 Pan Am game gold medals and that trip to Miami, South Beach, Miami after for a few days. And those will be our secrets forever. And those are our moments. And so that was a great first moment but reconnecting with you on the show has been really rewarding as well. So every show is good in that type of fashion as well. But those are my favorites. Yours?
Scotty, what do you? I want to hear yours before mine.
Yeah, let's hear Scotty's first.
I mean, so I'm very focused on the technical side. So like the times where we've had like connection issues, of course, those are the ones that I'm like, man, could have been, what could have been, or like, yeah, I'm focused on the behind the scenes stuff. But from like a content perspective, I agree that the Kane and Ben one was good. I really like the adaptive racquetball one. I was actually before this kind of looking through our past episodes and trying to remember all the things. The adaptive racquetball one was cool. I was just really proud of the first one. Just like getting like a first episode out, like that seems like a huge feat. Like I think it looked all right, given all things considered. What do you think, Sudsy?
Yeah,
hold up. I'm cracking up because Jay's giving it to me in the chat room. I'm reading Jay's stuff in the chat room. Of course, you're my favorite, Jay. You always been my favorite.
Well,
There's nothing that Jason's done that I have not loved 100%.
But it's true. I got to be honest. As far as my favorite shows, having him as a guest all the time is entertaining. And we talk about it all the time, Ellie. We're like, we can have him on all. In fact, Scotty's got to put us in line sometimes because I'm like, hey, I'm going to give Jay the link, let him in, and he's like, we can't do that every day because but we love having him on and it's entertaining and he's great. But for me, I tell you, Stephen Harper. That one was touching. I mean, I was fighting back tears, literally, talking to some of those wounded warriors, and even just talking about it now, it was surprisingly good. And I say surprisingly good because when we talked about the show and which direction we were trying to go, Ellie had presented Stephen and MRF because he has worked with them before, and now it's called Adaptive Racket Sports.
Right.
That one was touching, and hearing about the suicide rates of veterans, and having the two individuals on the show, that one really jumped out at me, and still leaves a mark. I thought Paola was spectacular and enlightening. And anybody that wants to talk and listen to the business side of racquetball should go back and watch that show and listen to her. She knows what she's doing down there, and yes, it's very different. Just something interesting. I did text Mike Grizz, the CEO of the IRT, because I do know he watches the show all the time. And I said, hey, just curious, what are some shows that jump out at you? And his favorites were Todd Boss, Paola, and Freddie. And he said Todd Boss might be his favorite. I also asked Veronica, Ellie, you're going to find this interesting. The one she said, I bet you I can give you guys 5 guesses.
Daryl Godinez was her favorite.
Sweens. She said Tim Sweeney, that first interview. She goes, that was really cool and interesting. And then she also said Todd Boss, which was a really interesting interview as well.
I think Todd would probably be considered the #1 ranked interview right now from what my feedback that I've gotten from people. And that's interesting, right? Like that's surprising a little bit, but not really does.
Right. No, it was super interesting. So if you haven't seen the Todd Boss show, go watch it. It was really cool. I mean, like Ellie said and Scotty said, they're all really good. I mean, how can it be bad when you have Cliff Swain or Kane Wazelenchuk or Paola or Cheryl Godinez, and these lists of great players that are going to continue to grow, and we'll talk about that too. But just real quick, Ellie, just to piggyback what you said about Ben, I got to know Ben outside the court because I stopped playing. And I got to be honest, I like him a lot better off the court, and meaning because I judged him from what I saw on the court. And I love watching him play, but he's a great dude, man. I love talking to Ben, and we speak and communicate. But you nailed it when you said if you could get to know him off the court and a little different. He's a good dude. I don't mind what he does on the court now. I appreciate it, Ben. Keep doing what you do because you're right. Everybody sits down to watch you play. So if that's what it takes to get somebody to watch racquetball, I don't care. Even though we know that's the real you. So have at it. But those were some of the shows. Let me get to what's the next one I got here. All right. So we got
I see the next question here. It's tough. That's the toughest question of your list of questions that we got to review a little bit.
Are we talking about the grading?
No, the least favorite.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I have this down, but Ellie brought up a good point. I had said to the guys, I go, what was your least favorite or most difficult interview and why?
Yeah, and for me, I don't really have one. Like Scotty makes it really easy to not worry about the tech side of it at all. So just sitting here talking and preparing for the interviews, we didn't try to have a bad show. So we didn't have a bad show. The only shows that were bad were because I screwed them up with technology situations on my end. Those are 2 that come to mind. So, other than that, I would never say that any of our interviews, at this stage have been bad. I think we would have already said that. Like there would probably been something that happens to make it really bad too. Like maybe it comes to an end abruptly a little early because they don't like our questions or whatnot. But, I don't think that's us, so to say, right off the bat. Now, maybe, gloves are off for you. Maybe you're going to have a different 2021 than 2020. I'm really, we'll see, time will tell. But we didn't have a bad show because we're not trying to have bad shows. Now, that's our opinion. We have our own opinions as the ones hosting the show. But, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear in the chat thread here, like, anybody dislike one of the shows, and can you tell us why? That would be kind of cool for us to see that, just to get a little feedback, because, I think to start it off, we had some good shows.
Yeah, tell us. We want to know what you liked, what you disliked. Quite frankly, I didn't like when you guys interviewed Sudsy Muntrick. I thought, it was a little annoying. It was no, it was
that was one of my favorites because we got to bring E. Mueller in, Jay.
I mean,
like that was great. That was Vero made an appearance, the only appearance so far.
Phenomenal.
So, like that was one of my favorite shows. I got to play a different role. Scotty had a little bit more involved, on the whole thing because he had to be worried about me at some level. Yeah,
I'm always worried about you, Ellie.
That was one of the best shows. I thought, that you're we could have kept going, and that's one of the themes too with a lot of our shows is like, well, that was part 1 of part 2 and 3 and 4 coming up in the future, and so put yourself in that ballpark.
Yeah, for the fans and everybody watching, first off, thank you so much. We love that. We know you join us. We do watch. We know we see you there. We try to pay attention. We get messages. We love it. Thank you. Keep watching, keep sharing it, get it out there. But all right. So this one's a little touchy, but not. And Scotty, if you want to be in, you can. If not, you don't have to be. Let's talk about the tours. Let's talk about the IRT right here, LPRT, the IRF, and USA Racquetball. All right. And the way we worded it, we were going to grade them for their 2020, how they handled a pandemic. Call it what it is, right? I mean, everybody got dealt the same hand. So Ellie, I'm going to start with you. And
so are we going IRT first here, or you want me to give you all the tours, the grades let's just go let's go around the horn on each tour, and we'll go. So I'm going to start with IRT. I gave them and this is during the COVID period, from when it stopped in March until right now at this point. I gave them a C+. But a C's average, right? Like, we think a C+ as parents, you might think of it one way, like that's not good enough. You got to be a B or A student, my child. But then if you think back to when you were in school and it wasn't something that you did, is just get A's and B's no matter what, because everything was so easy. Sometimes a C, you'd fall back on a C in a couple classes. Like, yeah, I don't love that class anyway. So that C that'll work for me right there. And so C's not, I don't want that to sound like it's bad, like it's average. I gave them a C+. They haven't had much going on. They've
spoken like a true teacher.
Right. I think there could have been just a little bit more on the past footage. Is that USA Racquetball? Is that IRT a combination? There's some past footage that would have been nice to see, some pro matches from back in the day. I don't know if that could have been handled between the two companies, to get some of that stuff online. Kane's kind of always interesting, so him going to Vegas was interesting, you know what I mean? And the old guys are hanging on by a thread right now. We got Alvy, who's not going. We've got Rocky, who's doing aerobics in his garage. Kane's looking pretty ready still. The Bolivians are coming. There's more Bolivian men that are starting to play. That's interesting.
I mean, that could change. They could get a COVID lockdown like that. So
right.
Who knows?
But I mean, like you can feel that. I feel something happening there from our stay home battles to, I don't know. I just feel like there's going to be a younger group like this. The second wave of Bolivians is now, and
changing of the guard.
Changing. Like there's younger guys coming. It's not about Carlos and Roland.
Time out. Scotty, weren't we just grading the tour? How do we get into this now?
Yeah, it's a deflection. It's a deflection.
Ellie, what did you give the IRT for their handling of 2020?
Yeah, C+ still, but I'm not done yet. More, like more Central and South American stops, possibly. Like, can we, these are the things that I'm kind of giving them a C+, but I'm giving them an idea of how to get some extra credit towards B's and A's here going forward here to get through the COVID period. What can they do that's new too? What can we get some new topics, and can they figure out something that's new for us to watch, to see on social? So yeah, that's my C plus.
Scotty, do you want to get involved now, or do you want to plead the fifth since you're
as an official official of the IRT? I'll say like it's been difficult with like just not being able to run events and everything. So yeah, I'm not sure entirely what options are available. Like I know like Sudsy, you and I have been doing a lot for like the stay-at-home battles and stuff, and trying to get some more exposure. They're still running the their program. Do y'all remember the name? I can't remember the name of it. The yeah. Anyway,
Beyond the Rally or something like that. Something about the rally.
Yeah.
Monday nights.
Yep.
No, what's it called? Come on, we got to know that. It's on Monday
Inside
night.
the
Everybody
Rally.
should watch it.
About
Outside
the rally. Outside the rally.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm glad they're still doing that. I've tuned into some of those. It's good to at least continue some exposure for the players, continue some interactivity.
And I think they got Todd Boss on that tomorrow night, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Todd Boss Monday night,
so,
following the lead. Are you gonna grade them or not, Scotty?
I'm not. I'm not.
All right, I'm up then. IRT, I love you all. This will Mike, Grizz, everybody. I appreciate everything. I'm representing tonight. I'm gonna go with a C minus. Now here's why. Let me finish. The reason is, and you're gonna hear me say this often as we move on, everybody could always do more. It's outside the rally. Thank you, JT.
Thanks, JT.
Our ball always coming through.
Yeah.
I'm hard to please, and I think that everybody could always do more. I'd like to say an A. I'll give the IRT an A if they want, but it is what it is. All right, LPRT, Ellie.
I'm back. Hold on. I'm ordering another drink right now from my daughter.
What do you got on the
Come
LPRT?
on up here, babe. All right. So I gave him a B. No, I'm not sure why I gave him a better grade than the IRT, other than, well, they beat the IRT towards having to stop. They had a significant number of ladies outdoor as well. I feel like their presence is, one more of these, please. Thanks. I feel like their presence online is better. During the COVID period, I feel like their players have a little bit better presence. Doesn't hurt that they're females, and a lot of them are beautiful, so you're kind of checking in on them. At least I know I am, and I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook and stuff. So I just feel like they're just more in tune with wanting to get back on the court, wanting to, as a group, as a tour. And Paola's interesting. I've started to follow her on Instagram a little more. I don't do a lot of Instagram, but she is someone that I'll peek at a little bit just to kind of see the business side of her and what she's into putting out for herself. And so all those reasons, I just a slight grade above the IRT. They haven't done much either, but what can they do? Here come the Bolivians. More Bolivians coming to play racquetball.
I'm going IRT, LPRT. I'm taking the advice of my best friend Jason Menino. You all get an A+ for staying in business. Now, with that said, I will say I am hard to please, and everybody needs to do more. On the LPRT, I have a question, Ellie, and for you too, Scotty, because you're on the techie whizzy side. Is it the tour? Is it the LPRT promoting the players, or are the players as individuals promoting themselves? I feel like very HBO Inside Sports the way I just said that. Let me say that again, like me.
Yeah, you did.
Are the players promoting themselves, or are the tours doing it?
Well, Sudsy Gumble, you sounded definitely like HBO show right there. And I think the players are taking upon themselves a bit more, but I think the tour itself, LPRT, does a bit more. At least that's what it looks like to me. Now, there's probably some numbers on that there that somebody could produce, number of posts, number of views, blah, blah, blah. But it just feels like I just see more about the female professionals than I do about the males during this downtime.
I feel Scotty, and I know you're in tune with this too. Mm-hmm. To me, they're just better at it. The ladies are just better at their promotions. I don't think the LPRT is driving that steering that ship. When you look around and you see, start from the top, Paola to Vargas to Samantha to Natalia to Jessica, they're doing all that on their own. And here's something pretty cool that I've noticed recently. If you look now, and Scotty, maybe you've seen it, and Ellie, if you're following, a lot of these younger girls, they're doing it too now. Like they're watching what Natalia does or Jessica does or Paola or Vargas, and they're now trying to promote themselves. I see Valeria is getting very active now on social media. This is great. This is great for racquetball. And the guys, yeah, guys, go do it. Like we don't need to tell you, just go do it. Like go put something out there. Jake is probably one of the most active from the men's side that I see. I don't know. Is that accurate? I just think it's important, in these times. Scotty, what's your take on that?
Yeah. I think in general there's so few racquetball players that consistently promote themselves. I think that is definitely a thing where we don't have the promoters, the official job where there's a person who's soliciting content from the players or filming their own content, people who are following them around like you would with the big ticket sports. So yeah, but I think with that said, I think the LPRT, the women on the LPRT do a much better job of promoting stuff, of consistently putting out content, consistently putting out like high quality content too. I don't know a ton of players who are doing that. I've seen some from like Bobby Horn and some of them, but
yeah, that's what I want to see.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see, kind of, and I don't know. I know that there's formulas as far as what days and times, and what I say to that, blah blah blah. We're racquetball. Like just flood the system with it. The diehards and the racquetball players and racquetball fans, they're gonna look at it. They're gonna want to see what's going on. So like just do it. I mean, you know what? Half of you may not care that I'm hitting a drive serve on the court tomorrow, but I'm going to put that video out there because I know you guys are going to care and you're going to like it, but I hope somebody else sees it too. So, I again, it goes back to, I think everybody can do more. And I think that the individuals need to do more and they need to take it upon themselves to figure out how to do it. And watch what the LPRT, some of the ladies are doing over there, because, whatever they're doing, look at their numbers. It's working. All right, Ellie, USA Racquetball.
USA Racquetball. I gave him a C. I thought the juniors and the idea that they came up with was pretty good. All in all, having some kids that went through it. I know we had some debates and discussions about that a little bit at the time. There's a lot for them to have to do, but for me, as a parent, my kids thrived on it in terms of just having something to do. Having something to progress through during this COVID time, when we're down for the most part and only could use outdoor courts at the time and outdoor opportunities to work out and show them some of that stuff. So that was kind of fun as a parent and as a paying member. The areas, online present was decent during that. They obviously missed a lot about the outdoor game that they could have promoted, especially with Vegas coming up. And really kind of laid out a history of the outdoor game in all facets, laid out, just video of outdoor play from the past, just search things down and stuff that USA Racquetball probably has in some storage somewhere, get some more footage out there. Like there's matches before even our time when we were in our early 20s going through USA Racquetball stuff, matches prior to that were happening in the 80s. Would have loved to see some footage on that, even if it's grainy. I would have loved to see just a little bit more from them in that respect. We need to see plans soon too. So with what they think, even if they can't hold water until the end there, we need to know that there's some kind of plan. We're hearing about something in June. We think it's pretty big, but that's got to come out here pretty soon as well. So I gave him a C.
Scotty?
I don't know if I'll go as far as to rate, but yeah, I think like to me the top responsibility or the top goal of the USAR is to reach out to the clubs themselves and just find out who's making decisions about whether clubs exist or don't, and like trying to like do more value propositions for them. So I haven't been in all those conversations, so I don't know how much it's happening, but that to me is one of the top things. And then just continuing engagement with USAR members, given that they can't really run a lot of them. And I think like the relationship with outdoor has been, I'd love to see a little bit more cooperation there. That's what I'll say on that.
All right. IRF.
Well, wait a minute.
Wait.
Time
Oh, I'm
out.
sorry.
You resigned from the position, so you are open to having an opinion about USA Racquetball right now. You've done a lot for him. You've been involved as a paying member for over 40 years. You've won national titles left and right when you were a junior coming up. You are the current national doubles champion and on the USA Racquetball team. Sudsy Monchek, what say you on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm extremely disappointed in our national governing body. I'm not thrilled with a lot of decisions and non-decisions over the past few years. I was trying to do everything I could to help and assist. Obviously, I can't. I think that they're going to continue to work hard and try to do the best they can for our sport. And I'll always be there to do anything I can to help our sport as a whole. But I'm pretty disappointed in them, and yeah, I think a C is very generous from you, Ellie. And believe me, it's not one personal decision or two personal decisions. It's been a few years of some things that I don't know if it's really helped or hurt us more as a sport, and that's truly how I feel. And yes, I'm keeping the gloves on and being very gentle. And I think I just need to be right now because I want to maintain my professionalism. So with that, I also want to say this though. So Bobby Horn is watching, and this is I mean this. Here's a top pro or player in the world. Like if I or Ellie, we were pros at the time, and something like this was going on, I'd be promoting the crap out of it, sharing it like crazy. Not to promote Ellie or Sudsy or Scotty Mac. This is a racquetball show. Like we're promoting you. We don't get paid for this. Bobby, it's great to see you, but like it's actually super disappointing that we don't see. Now, I know they watch it, but they watch it after. They should be getting involved and engaging and being part of it, and like us calling them out. Like that would be to me even more fun and more entertaining for everybody. I mean, Jason Menino, a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest players of all time, he's just been bickering, going back and forth nonstop. And like, that's awesome. But we should see every junior player. We should see all the organizations. This is a racquetball show. Like, this isn't about us. We're not getting paid if there's 45 viewers or 4,500 viewers. Hey, we might. And if we do, good, because then that means you're going to do good too, because we want to grow the sport. Hence, I'm wearing an IRT shirt, right? Not a Sudsy Munchik shirt or my Venmo account, which is at Sudsy M if you're bored. Ellie, it's nice to see Bobby, but I'd like to see more of that. And we know Bobby well, and I would like to see more of that. So all you juniors too, especially, get it out there. All right, IRF, Ellie. Oh, let me start with the IRF. I can't even grade him because I haven't seen him in a year. I have no idea what's going on. What? Where are you?
Yeah, that's a good point. And so I'm going to take my C- and probably put it to a D plus. That's, the biggest thing also for me is I don't like their website that much. I mean, I try to go to it a couple times and I just never seem to navigate through it and attracted to doing so and to really being more in depth on it. So, from that standpoint, as somebody who's following different aspects of racquetball, I would like to see that be improved. And a little bit more content. I'd like to see content on the teams updated, who's who on the squads, who footage from the events, even if it's obviously late footage. I'd like to, and maybe it's there, but it's not the beauty I'd like to see in that site to navigate through it. I will say congratulations to them for having the great news about Chile and the Pan Am Games, and racquetball will be in that event, so that's great. And
It's good news. That's important.
that's wonderful news. And I think they're trying to probably figure out how to get back into the sport and get things going again, but COVID's been a bitch for them for sure. And so we'll see what they do going forward.
Yeah, but again, it's easy. I agree with you and all of that, but like we have social media. There's no excuse nowadays. It's so easy to communicate with anyone, any message, anything you want to get out there. I mean, look at our show. We started this show to be able to talk, to communicate to racquetball. I mean, I was literally, in March, jumping out of my skin, sitting at home in Ecuador saying, I miss racquetball. I need to speak to my racquetball world, my family, my friends, the fans, my competitors. And I went live. I went live for 5 minutes. You could probably find it if you search all the way back in my Facebook. It was in March sometime, and I just started talking. And then, yeah, Elliot, you got the call, and then obviously Scotty, and the rest is history. And here we are. But like, it's just not that difficult to do some decent things, easy things, pretty good. Scotty, I don't know. Do you see it different? From a technical side.
In terms of what? What's the question?
Should we see more from everybody?
That's such a leading question, but yes. Yeah, I mean, it's very cheap to do a post. It takes a little while. It takes like less than a minute. I mean, depending how much thought you want to put into it. So like, yeah, it's easy to engage people. It's easy to just, put yourself out there, send a message, say what you've been up to. Like, I mean, players like maybe they're still training, maybe they're not, but like just saying the things that they're thinking about, like, and I put myself in this category too. I haven't really been posting a whole lot because I'm not traveling a whole lot. I associate, yeah.
What you're doing, you're doing this. You do the
linked.
app. You're super involved, but it is linked. You're doing things that are keeping racquetball out there.
Yeah. I mean,
not enough, Scott. I want to see some overhead drive serves, some outdoor overhead serves, and practice on that. Like, can you film some of what you got going on?
All right,
that,
I'll do some between the leg stuff, and it's easy to make posts. It's easy to post pictures. I think the difficulty is having someone in your circle who can take good pictures of you. I think that's one hurdle, is like trying to set up the machine, or like, set up a tripod or something so that you can get a good angle of yourself or whatever you're trying to do. But I think like from what I understand is like having someone in your circle, having someone who's like near you, who enjoys taking good pictures, who enjoys taking good video, who can film it for you and then help you post it. Like, I think a lot of racquetball players don't have that. So I'd be like I know some top players, like when they have someone close to them who has that eye, has that mindset. I can say specific names, but that'll like elevate your social media. It'll elevate your presence. It'll have you reach more people, and then therefore like people will care more about your narrative. They'll care more about why you're going to events. Like, I've been going to events for years, and like I've got my story about why I care about playing on the IRT, why I care about reffing on the IRT. Like, there's so many stories for like these people who care so much about showing up at events, playing hard at events, getting to a certain round or whatever the case may be, beating a certain player. Like, what are the rivalries? Who, like, that sort of stuff. Like, I don't think many of our viewers really know the stories to care about the players.
Ellie, as a co-host of the show, what would you like to improve on, for 2021 and beyond?
Well, it's kind of the same theme I've had. Yeah, personal level, just, get my setup to a spot where, it's professional. It looks like this is what I want to do. This is what we're doing. And we're trying to improve our sets, our individual sets. And so that's one obvious answer right there. But, I think kind of research certain topics in a little bit more detailed way this year. Trying to find stories that are really interesting and presenting opportunities to you two to have those stories out there that you might not know about. And you guys can do the same as well. I also am, I'm looking to have interesting conversations with legends of the sport, before they get too old. And I mean that, like there's some people that are aging out there. And we want to have these conversations with some true racquetball people for their life, even if they haven't been able to play for 10, 15 years because of their aging out of the sport. They have thoughts on this stuff. And, everyone knows who we're talking about out there, but both male and female. So, and being ready for those conversations and feeling confident, like I have questions for you that aren't the typical questions that you've gotten the last 25 years.
Right.
What I mean? Some detailed stuff that racquetball people go, yeah, I'm glad Ellie asked that. I'm glad Sudsy asked that. And so, getting better at that, trying to work on this craft a little bit. And it's a hobby right now for us. It's a show. It's a real show for us, but it's not like, we're not making a profession out of this right now, although that would be great, but it's, still treating it like you're trying to be professional about this and as good as possible at the position that we're in right now. So, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, for me, I'm hoping, I really want to be able to engage all the listeners and be better at involving people that aren't just racquetball players. I want to try to, Ellie, you and I have talked about this, and of course, it's racquetball, right? Like that's what's driving us. But I feel that we all have a lot to offer, whether you play racquetball or you don't. I'm working with people in business now and life coaching and stuff like that, and I'd like to find ways to implement that skill and talent into our show as a host. And then I'd also, as the main host, I guess, so to speak, if that's what my title is, Scotty. I don't even know if that's what you call me, the host.
Yep.
I hope that I could find, sponsors for us, really people that look at this show and say, you know what, there's value there, and I want to be part of that, because nothing would make me happier than to be able to, Venmo you guys some money and say, hey, check it out, and show another logo or whatnot. So I'm gonna really seek and find ways to do that in 2021. And in a year from now, if we don't have a few logos up there, I will feel like I failed that part of it. So I'm definitely gonna look to be better at that. Definitely, no doubt about it. Um, all right. How
Saji,
about
I gotta say something. I mean, it's, that topic is, I'm there with you. I mean, I'm right there with you. We're thinking the same like that, but and for the guys who were in the room in some of those early IRT meetings, your first year on tour, it's such a unique position to see you as the young talent coming up to really do some damage, but that is willing to just show everybody how much you love the sport in the room of all your peers, all the people that you got to play against in
tell the story? Tell them they don't.
wherever city we were in. Chicago stands out, but having these meetings with Hank in hotel rooms and all of us having to listen to you say, I just play for free, guys. I mean, I'm here. Like, honestly, I don't, whatever I make's great, but I'd play for free. And we're all looking like, we're professional suds. You don't get it. And the veterans just rolling their eyes at you going, come on. And, I thought it was great at the time because it was cracking me up in one sense that you had all these older guys, older pros that have been doing it for several years, a bunch of years for some of them, that kind of had to take in the new players, had to take in the young guns that were obviously coming, and yet also have the side of going, he really would play for free right now. Like, he really
Yeah,
would. It's not going to be
I
like this in
I
2 or 3 years, but he
I
really
I
would
just
right
loved
now.
it. Yeah,
It's like,
at that moment, there's no doubt. Ellie, I mean, you were front and center. You were right by
I
my
was
side,
already
and
2 years in though, so I'm looking at you going,
right.
"Suds, you got to stop talking. Like, we're wasting time right now. We could be laying in bed watching, preparing for the matches or whatever, getting a
Watching
thin crust
Tombstone again
somewhere,
or
like
Braveheart.
something. So we could be doing something better in this meeting right now. And you keep
Yeah.
bringing up this that you'd play for free thing. You got to stop doing that.
I I mean, it worked. You know what I look back at that? I look back and go, hey, I wasn't afraid to say that in front of guys like Cliff
Yeah,
Swain and Tim Doyle and Drew Katching, where they should have slapped me. But anyway, that's
it
that's for
was
another
great. It was a lot of
time.
fun. And so it's a little bit of contrasting to this moment. Yeah, I mean, this is what we love to do. So of course we like to be better at it and maybe do it a little bit more often, because there's so many people out there that we could talk to that I think people would be interested in listening to, whether it's live or delayed. So to do this more often would be great, but that takes time. And obviously from that point, we have significant others that would demand that we have some something in return for our time. So this has been
Yeah,
great
I
though.
mean, no, there's no doubt, and you guys deserve it. I mean, there's no doubt. I'm hoping we can figure that out. But Scott, this one's for you. I'm going to start with you on this one. What direction would you like to see the show go for
Mhm.
2021? And we're almost done here.
Yeah, I mean the values that I care about, one is like professionalism, so I just want to keep us moving in the direction of keeping the stream looking professional and feeling professional, feeling like the kind of thing that I don't think we've seen a ton of in racquetball. I want to try to try to elevate the production and everything that we can do. The other is like I want to get us to like more of a deeper emotional level with the players and with our guests. This is a trend. Like whenever you guys are on with people, I'm always trying to send like the deeper message to try to be like, hey, like really asked about that thing? Like, seems like
I'm
there's
taking the
something
gloves
there.
off soon, Scotty. You
I
know we're on
I
this. You
know.
know we're on the same page with this.
Yeah.
And it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah.
It
So
is. It is coming.
I want to see more. Well, yeah, I'm hoping we can get to a level where we can bring more emotional depth, bring more like raw questions, talking about the things that actually matter. I think there's a way that if we're only talking about positive stuff, then like no one's gonna like really trust our range for like how real we can actually be, and they'll like, in the end, that's gonna hurt us. If we only talk to a certain level, it's like, oh yeah, it's like it's daytime television. It's like, oh yeah, we know what this is going to be. As long as we can't be put in a box that way, I want to keep asking the real stuff.
No, I will not allow that. I will not allow us to be put in a box. It will not always be positive. It will not always be negative. Touching on what Ellie said earlier, what I think I'm going to do and what we do as a team is we're going to collectively always look for what needs to be discussed, not what we want to be discussed. And this is important for your fans and players, and you pro players and amateurs and people running for board positions and whatnot. You know, we are going to seek what needs to be discussed in our sport. We're not just going to, it's not going to be unicorns and rainbows, even though that's a beautiful thing. But we are going to look for the topics that we feel are important to racquetball, because racquetball, it is my life. Scotty has a full-time job, Ellie has a full-time job, but we all love the sport. This is the labor of love. You're seeing three guys that love the sport, that came together to do whatever we can. And know this, no matter, we are going to look for the topics that need to be discussed, whether you want to listen or not. Players, people on social media, we are watching, we're looking. And we will do what we can to promote you as well.
Yeah.
Ellie,
wait, I got one other piece that I want to make sure that like we don't turn into like, I think people see the show, they're like, oh, it's like television, you just tune in and watch it. I want it to be like way more interactive than that. Like if someone like sends a message to the chat, like I'm seeing Billy, like great interaction with the chat, really appreciate that. Several others sending messages, Bobby, Jody, Ken, I'm just kind of scrolling through. Like I want this to be like a communication space. I want this to be like, if you miss it and you just watch the replay, I want like people to think, oh, I wish I were there to like ask questions. I wish I were there to talk about it.
Well, be careful with that, because I know Ellie and I would be down with this, which is we want to do a show. And if we can get it down weekly where we can bring a guest in live right here, like you just said, a couple names. So if we could bring Billy in, boom, Billy's live with us right now. Billy gets to ask a question. And then, like a real true radio or call in talk show. Ellie and I are down with that, Scotty. So, you tell us when you're ready to pull the trigger on that. I know you got a big waiting room. You could put hundreds of people in there. We can, that would be a lot of fun. And we'll talk about that. So for everybody watching, that is something we've been discussing, figuring out a way how to invite you, bring you in and pop up on the screen with us, engage, talk a little bit, and then, kind of a, question, just be part of it.
Yeah. And like what one last quick note about making it interactive. I've got some notes here from like Chad, Billy, and Rick about potential like sponsorships and things for events and all kinds of things. So like that alone, yeah. I'm hoping we can make stuff.
Sudsy@sudsymunchik.com. We appreciate that. Just email me whatever info you want, sudsy@sudsymunchik.com, and we'll go from there if you're interested. We really would be super grateful. Ellie, all right, we're going to wrap it up here in a second. What guests do you want to see in 20?
Well, I mean, that's so loaded too. I mean, there's so many people, right? I mean, we were only 24 shows in. A couple of them were without guests. So let's call it 21 shows of specific guests that we've had. So there's so many more to go. If top of my head, like right off the bat, because I'm a little different than you guys, right? I like the nostalgia a little bit more. I like the old school stories. I like to laugh with some of our funny friends in racquetball and introduce people to other people's sense of humors. Like people don't realize how funny Cliff Swain is. Like he's one of the funniest human beings in the world. Jason Menino, funny. Like all these guys that were awesome racquetball players and gals, I'm sure too, but a lot of the guys that we got to hang out with just had great sense of humors. And that's why it's unique. Racquetball players on tour during our era, and I think the era before and probably a bit after and currently and all that, you end up spending a lot of time together. and you're competing against each other too. So there's this little thing that you got to kind of control there, and humor helps that, having funny moments together, whether it's just really, nothing big going on, or some crazy times together in the past, having some good times. So it's just, there's so many funny conversations out there. For me, Scott Oliver, Jerry Price, our boy GP and Scotty together, fun, bringing Cliff on that show for a little bit. We've been talking about Jake for a little bit now. I think he's really interesting. He's, kind of like from the mold of our era, from the eras before. He's any era's mold. He's trying to make some money in the sport with his clothing line. He's supporting, his brother playing alongside him. He's, he plays both outdoor and play anywhere, anything, anywhere. We both really like him. He's a fun guy. The legends on the women's sides that we haven't talked to yet: Lynn Adams, Michelle Gould. We just recently heard from Michelle Gould, so that's looking promising. Obviously Hogan, Dave Peck, Brums at some point.
It's a good list.
Dr. Bud, and so, Maria Jose is interesting to me. Like, she's going through another birth here coming up soon enough. And
spoke to her husband yesterday.
It's hard to imagine her not wanting to play racquetball, but she probably will after her second child, but it doesn't get any easier when you have two. And so, we'll see. And she's just someone who loves the sport. I mean, she cries if she loses a specific rally. She might have an emotional moment because she just cares so much. And we could go on and on and on. Ruben hasn't been on the show yet. Our boy Ruben has not been on the show. Yeah. So, all my guys from Stockton, you know what I mean? Like, I got a lot of young guys who grew up and were not young anymore. They're all in their mid 20s to early 30s now. And, none of them have been on the show yet. So,
Scotty, Ellie just covered the first 6 months. Tell us some guests you'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, one difference, I'm like, I really want the decision makers. I want to bring the people who are looking forward, like who are doing the most of the sport. I mean, this is why it feels criminal that we haven't had Dan Whitley on yet. I really love to have. I mean, we talk about USAR a lot. We talk about the future of the sport a lot.
Dan, this is your open invite. We're going to invite
Who better than the chairman of the board for the USAR? And I think like there are a lot of other personalities that I'd still love to have on, like even like Jimmy Lowe. Like, I don't know, I really love, like, I've never really talked to him, but I just like, I love the way he is on the court.
That's a good one.
And yeah, I'm sure others will come to mind and I'll regret not saying him, but.
Well, how about you? How about everybody watching? How about the fans, the players? Who do you want to see? We're open to everybody. We don't run from anyone. Ellie, all those names, Scotty, I love them all. I'm already like thinking about texting who I'm going to be texting saying, hey, do you want to be on the show? And there's many others, Jack Cusack, Christy Van Vlies,
Jack.
Dave Negretti, Hank Marcus. We're definitely going to have Jason on multiple times. So, that's always entertaining. And we've talked about even going outside of racquetball a little bit. We all have friends outside of racquetball that can talk about life and that do play racquetball. I have a friend that is
even Keith Miner would be great.
Keith Miner, belongs on the show. He is somebody that needs to come on and talk about his love for the sport and why he does what he does. Because, let's be honest, Ellie and I, we've seen this too many times. Those great people that are there, they get what it's called like fatigue. And they eventually just stop. They just walk away and they say, you know what? I just see hands out like this. Gimme, gimme, gimme. And we lose them and we can't have that. And we have to show them, that respect and love and gratitude. And they don't all need that, but maybe just say, hey, what can we do? But Ellie and I and Scotty, we've talked about too. We have friends. I have a friend that's a 3-time Super Bowl champ. He protected Tom Brady. And guess what? He's a 6'5" offensive lineman and he loves racquetball and he plays racquetball. Another buddy of mine, big actor and, Black Hawk Down and CSI New York, and he loves racquetball. So, these are people, his name's Carmine Giovinazzo, Joe Andruzzi, but, we talk about, should we go outside the sport too a little bit? So I think 2021, we're going to mix it up a little bit. And it won't just be the Brent Walters said, Todd O'Neill, the Todd O'Neills of the world, but it could definitely be a nice mix. All right. So guys, I'm going to give both of this question to you, and then we're going to end it and call it a night here. Scotty, I'm going to start with you first. What do you hope Beyond the Court does for the racquetball community?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's been like staying united, staying staying in touch. Like, I think there's a feeling that I get when I show up at a racquetball tournament where like there's like some community that happens. There's some like family sorts of things that happen. I'm just like feeling like I like kind of belong, kind of like know what's, yeah, like know a lot of people, can talk to a lot of people. So I want it to be a bit like that, like kind of like being a little bit more transparent and also welcoming. It's like transparent and welcoming, but like trying to invite more people in, people who haven't played the sport before even. So yeah, I'm hoping that. I'm hoping that plus, like I said, the emotional depth, like showing things that are real to connect to, that are a little bit deeper than is usually available on social media.
Ellie?
Yeah, for me, for starters, I want it to continue to be a source of enjoyment, entertainment for racquetball people, people who know who we are because of our racquetball lives and careers, and love the sport themselves, and who tune in, weekly live. That right there, I want to cater to them, continue to do that a bit. But and both your guys' ideas will fall in line with myself as well. It's that's what it takes to be a good teammate, in this situation. What else? You know, a source of positivity for racquetball while still being transparent, as Scotty was saying, but not trying to go to the dark side, not trying to become a negative soul, being positive, wanting people to do well for themselves, wanting people to have success stories and being able to talk about those and being genuinely happy for people in racquetball, and create ideas for racquetball promotion, help people learn about what we do here, learn from what others do in other areas, but to truly help the United States of America create more racquetball players. We got to do that. It's happening in a couple other countries outside the U.S., but it needs to happen here. And so that's something that I'm interested in. I know my family's interested in that as well. Enlighten people of the past of racquetball. That's where I come in on this show. I think a little bit is trying to have that nostalgic viewpoint every now and then as well. And just going deep into what happened in the 70s and 80s with racquetball, and 90s for some of our peers, for our times. And then, that's the important part. I'd love to make a living talking and being a podcast person, talking, doing racquetball matches, covering a racquetball match and actually talking about what we see on the court, and doing it in a egoless fashion, not being about myself at all, being about what we're watching, the other people. And so that's always on my mind. And so that's what I hope is happening out there. And I know I hope close friends are tuning in, and people that I haven't met, and can connect, whether it's online or possibly in the future. So I appreciate being a part of it, Suds. Thanks for bringing me in on this. Thanks, Scotty, for all your hard work. No doubt about that. 2020 was great, and looking forward to this year.
Yeah, guys, first let me just say thank you so much, Ellie, Scotty, Mac. This wouldn't have happened without you guys. Certainly not to this level. I appreciate it. I hope, and I'm sure that the racquetball players and fans and community appreciate it. And all of you that, watch on Sunday nights live with us, and more of you that watch it after, it would be fun to really see a big crew and everybody watching live with us on Sunday. But thank you to you guys. And, Scotty, Ellie, it's just been phenomenal. And let's just keep doing it. Scotty, we'll be together next week in Atlanta. For me, I hope the show truly inspires and motivates you all. The first time I got on live by myself without Ellie and Scotty, that was what it was about. I just felt a lot of negativity and a lot of hurt and a lot of question out there. And I felt that I could jump on the camera like this in South America and talk to people that know me, from racquetball. And whether it's because of racquetball that you know my name, or you listened, or you watched it that first time or not, I hope that this show can become a source of inspiration and motivation for you, whatever it may be in life, whatever it is. It doesn't have to just be on the racquetball court. It could truly be in business. It could be with relationships and friends. And it's not because I'm smarter than you, or I tell my son this all the time, Ellie, and I'm sure you should tell Julius this too. I'm not smarter than you. It's probably because I effed up more than you or messed up more than you, that I can talk about the things, and I'm not afraid to talk about them. And I want to do what I can to help. And I hope that you find some source of drive and motivation, and something in yourself too, some accountability and some responsibility. I'll always be here for you, and Ellie and Scotty will be here, and, Beyond the Court will be here. And, Next week, we've been discussing, we're not sure if we're going to go live on Sunday night because Scotty will be traveling like mid-flight, guys. So, don't be mad at us. We might change the day. We might change the time. Maybe Scotty will change his flight. I don't know. Scotty,
Yeah,
we can,
I'm not sure how quickly I can book it from reffing the final to to the airport
well,
to get home.
I'm sure somebody will sponsor you to change your ticket, and then we could host a live show Sunday night from Atlanta. But all kidding aside, everybody, thank you so much. This was our 24th episode. We're super excited. We really appreciate you. We appreciate your support. KWM Gutterman, Keith Miner, thank you to you. The first person that has stepped up and wanted to be part of our show. As you can see, your logo's there, and we really, words just aren't enough. But for Scotty Mac, Ellie, and myself, from South Florida, Stockton, California, and Austin, Texas, we say goodnight, and we will see you next week on Beyond the Court. Thank you.